What's up, Scouters? It's the Cause, it's Midnight Lights, and this is part of my How to Beat and Spare Yang toolkit where I go over all of Yang's Phase 1 attacks, all of his Phase 2 and Phase 3 attacks, as well as some important pieces of strategy, especially in Phase 2. Alright, here we are. All of Yang's Phase 1 moves that I could identify, how to counter them and punish him, and how to basically win Phase 1. So, with Yang, the best way to beat him is to be able to defend his attacks and also defend his counters. So remember, attacks are when he starts a progression voluntarily, where he starts the attack phase, and then his counters are his responses to your attack phase. When you have a combo that goes too long, or you start attacking him while he's just kind of standing there, he's going to avoid or deflect and counter you. So that's important to know. We're going to go over Yang's two main attacks, the two things he does voluntarily that we are going to get really good at identifying and really good at avoiding and then countering. And then we're going to talk about triggering his counters, and then how do we respond to his counters that then open up another vulnerability window. So again, it's his two main attacks, his three main counters, and we're going to open up vulnerability windows for all of those. So his number one attack has this delay in it. And when we identify the delay, or this little skip, it tells us that this particular combo is going to end with a straightforward kick. So we're just going to avoid that kick when it comes. And you'll see the kick right here. We're going to avoid that and then punish him. So here it is one more time. Starts with a snap kick, then another punch. He skips away, and that's when we know, okay, it's going to end with the kick. There's the kick we're going to avoid and punish. So what we're doing to be able to really exploit this combo is anytime he starts a combo or an attack versus us, we're holding L1 to block. So we can identify it. It'll do a little damage to our structure, but not a lot. So we're holding L1, we're identifying, we see the skip. And when we see the skip, we're like, okay, all I need to do is avoid that straightforward kick at the end, and I'll be able to counter. Now, when you counter, it's important to use raining strikes, that unlockable skill, which is just pressing triangle, waiting for a split second, and pressing again. And typically, and why raining strikes is so clutch, as you can see here, is you can get in 2 raining strikes in a vulnerability window against Yang. Alright, this next attack looks very similar, except there's no skip, there's no delay. So let's watch it again. He starts with a snap kick and punch, and then there's no delay. And that tells us this combo ends with 2 elbows, and we need to avoid twice. So snap kick, punch, no delay. Here comes the 2 elbows, avoid, avoid, and then raining strikes. That's it. So once again, we're blocking anytime he proactively starts an attack. If he starts an attack, we're holding L1 to identify it. So I'm holding L1 this whole time. I'm like, okay, there's no delay. That means 2 elbows, avoid, avoid, and then counter with raining strikes. Triangle, slight delay, triangle, and then you can usually get in a second one. Triangle, slight delay, triangle. There's the 2 elbows. Here's the raining strikes. Got him. Yang does have a third attack. He just doesn't use it that much, but when he does, it's wonderful because it's easy to spot, easy to avoid. So it's this sweep where he jumps back. There he goes. He'll get a little running start. The further you are away, the more you'll be able to identify it. You just avoid up and then counter with 2 raining strikes, or if you have a staff, light attacks. So now we're going to move into Phase 1 counters from Yang. So counters are triggered by extending your combo a little bit longer to the point where maybe he's taking damage and now he's defending, and then deflects or avoids your attack and then launches his own. That's Yang's countering. Sometimes he'll do it too, and Yang in particular, if in Phase 1 when he's just standing around and letting you get your structure back, and then you start a attack on him, he'll instantly avoid it and counter you. So this section is all about his counters and what you do to basically counter his counters. The first counter I'm going to go over is this low high. It's just 2 quick punches, and he'll follow it up with a kick if it lands. But what you want to do is avoid. So there it is. It's almost like a low high all in one swipe. We'll watch it again here. There it is. And you just avoid it. You may only have to avoid once. I think I do avoid twice, like I'm holding L1 and going away from him twice. You can do any direction but up. you just want to avoid. As soon as you know that parry's coming, generally it's good to default to avoid with Yang. Alright, Yang's second counter starts with a 1 flurry and then a 2 flurry like that. So you'll see me extend my combo there. He parries me. 1 phase, 2 phase, all raining strikes. So the best thing to do here actually is you're holding L1 here and you know the second one's coming. And then if you press L1 on that last strike, you'll actually deflect it and it'll open up a vulnerability window. You don't see me doing it here, but that's the best way to defend it. Oh man, I hate this counter. It's a crotch punch and then a second phase, and it's brutal because I felt like, I don't know if it's the timing or where he's punching, but I was only able to really consistently make this work by avoiding away. So when it comes, I'm holding L1 and pushing back. And so that's what I'm doing for this particular one. Generally, again, any counter he throws at you, I'm defaulting to holding L1 and then avoiding away from him because that worked best for me. There's one more slight addition to Yang's counters, and that's that sometimes with his low-high counter, he'll extend it with a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 phase combo. So you just want to avoid that whole time. And that's really part of the main takeaways. When he proactively starts an attack or his attacks, you're just holding L1 and blocking until you know it's the 2 elbows or the straightforward kick, and then you're avoiding that. And then when you know you're about to trigger one of his counters, you're just ready to avoid. You can avoid all of his counters, and if you avoid any of them, it'll set up right. If you avoid well, it will set up a vulnerability window. Let's move into my winning strategy for phase 2, because y'all, phase 2 is hard. There's no breaks. He's always gonna proactively attack you, so it's hard to keep your structure down. It's hard to phase 2 is probably the hardest part of the game, I would say. It's relentless. His attacks are extremely unpredictable. There are so many attacks, so even if you watch my video on scouting all of his attacks in phase 2, I don't even think I get to all of them because they're so varied and unpredictable. Some look the same but end differently. He has so many phase 2 moves and it makes it very difficult. Okay, here's my super secret equation for beating and sparing Yang in phase 2. So I'm going to review it here without any distracting video, and then we're going to watch it several times. So here's how it works. In phase 2, Yang's going to attack you all of the time. So you know that's coming, and when it comes, you're picking up on what it is, trying to block and avoid. And when you block or avoid, you're going to open up a vulnerability window. Hopefully, you don't have to, but hopefully you do. And when you do that, you're going to attack. Anytime you attack Yang in phase 2, it's very likely to trigger his counter so long as he's not stunned. Now, when you trigger his counter, and we're going to go over his specific counters, then you're going to pick up on that, deflect and avoid as needed, and that's when you're really going to punish him. And so, like I said, let's look at what that looks like so you kind of understand. So I'm going to be quiet, you just watch. So that's it. That's the progression. Let's go through it. So first, Yang is going to attack you. Here it comes. It's a jumping wall attack, and you avoid. That's the first phase. Then you start your attack in that vulnerability window, and that's going to trigger his counter. And then you deflect his counter, and then you're going to punish. I'm going to go over what specific moves and combos I use, but that's what it looks like. And when you're deflecting this particular counter before you punish, it's very similar. I'm just pressing L1, L1, L1. Just like that. That's all it takes. So you can see another one here. Boom. That's it. That's what's going to beat Yang. So here comes another one. Yang's going to start an attack. I'm blocking. I perfect avoid that. And then I start an attack. He counters it. And then I counter that move or deflect it. And that's where I punish with my crooked foot, which I'll go over. Alright, here are the moves behind what make this strategy work. There are 2 specific things you need to know really to make it work other than the equation and timing. So the combo I use when I open up that first vulnerability window is, here it comes, square, triangle, triangle, triangle. And every time I use this combo, it seems like he counters the last one. It triggers his flurry attack, his raining strikes that I then counter. And then when I counter him, like you'll see right here, there's the wall kick. Here comes his raining strikes. When I counter that, I use crooked foot, and all that is holding triangle. But here's the thing, y'all, you got to be ready, because that window for triggering crooked foot is very, very small. So just make sure you're ready, and as soon as you deflect his raining strikes, you're ready to go with crooked foot, and that will beat him every time. Of course, Yang's not going to make things too easy for us. He has a second counter, which is the same low-high counter attack he does from phase 1. So we'll watch it here. Here comes my attack. He's going to counter with a low-high. So that's okay. You're still going to do the same thing. Anytime you know a counter's coming from Yang, you're just kind of pressing L1, L1, L1. That's the best thing to do. It'll work for either of his counters. Another thing Yang does to complexicate things is he extends his low-high counter with raining strikes. So you'll see it here, low-high, and here comes the raining strikes. So when that happens, when that last strike comes at you, if you press L1, you'll deflect perfect parry and you'll be able to open up a vulnerability window. All right, let's do this. All of Yang's phase 2 attacks that I could identify and spot, there are so many, and also how to counter them. But I'm gonna make this a little easier for you, because actually the best way to beat Yang in phase 2 is to kind of follow this sort of rhythm, this sort of pattern, which is, remember, in phase 2, Yang is going to attack you voluntarily. He's relentless. So here's, regardless of the attack, this is what you're going to do. He's going to start the attack. Here he comes with a sweep kick. So you avoid his attack. It opens up a window. And then you're going to counter with square, triangle, triangle, triangle. Now, when you do that, he's going to deflect it and come at you with a counter. So let's look one more time and I'll walk through it. So here's his attack. I avoid the last move, and then I'm going to do square, triangle, triangle, triangle. And on my last phase, he's going to deflect, but then I'm going to deflect his counter and hold triangle to do crooked foot. And that's the counter for all of the sort of equation, the rhythm, the flow of how I beat Yang. But let's start with his moves, starting with his snap kick to elbows. This is similar to phase 1. He'll start with a snap kick, a punch, and then 2 elbows. So you're just always kind of starting by blocking in phase 2. So I blocked those 2. I know elbows are coming. I kept blocking, but you can avoid those last 2. The next one is very similar. It's a snap kick, punch to a sweep kick. Let's watch it in slow-mo and what we do with it. So here he comes, snap kick, punch, sweep kick you avoid, and then it's square, triangle, triangle, triangle. He deflects that, comes with his counter, which we're going to deflect, and then counter by holding triangle with crooked foot. Yep, that's right, y'all. We're countering his counters. So Yang has a few attacks that all start out the same with this strong uppercut, and this particular one ends with a sweep. You can't distinguish them except for the last move. Uppercut, straight punch, sweep. We avoid the sweep, and then yeah, launch back into our secret to success, square, triangle, triangle, triangle to crooked foot. But if he lands this sweep, which he definitely will do sometimes, you can ground counter. Again, it's hard to distinguish these uppercut moves from one another, so you might get swept. Now, he does telegraph his next uppercut combo a little bit. So you'll see here, if he starts an uppercut and then skips punches, then you know a high kick is coming. So let's watch in slow-mo and what we do to counter. So here comes the uppercut. He skips, so that tells us it's going to be a high kick, and we avoid. Follow up with our combo, square, triangle, 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 which he's going to deflect. Counter us, then we're going to deflect, and then we can move from there. All right, his third uppercut move, again, this is infuriating because we can't differentiate this from the sweep, but go ahead, let's look. Uppercut, multi-strike is coming, but that's okay, it's all right. Sometimes he'll sweep us, sometimes he'll land the multi-strikes. It's not the end of the world. The multi-strikes don't do a ton of damage, but you can deflect the last move of the multi-strikes, which will open up a vulnerability window. You just don't see me doing that here. Also has this infuriating, like, not strong uppercut that he follows up with a sweep. We'll try and get it in slow-mo here. Little mini uppercut, he follows up with a sweep. If he lands it, just use a ground counter. It's the best thing to do. It won't be too much damage. He also has this sort of 3 power move thing that he does. 3 strong attacks, which he brings at you, which we'll talk about what to do. So when he brings these, I just avoid away from him 1, 2, 3. So avoid back 1, 2, 3. Here it comes again. I'm holding L1 and back away from him in a like succession of 1, 2, 3, just like that. You do this right, you'll be able to have a great window for our secret sauce, which again, we have that vulnerability window and we're square, triangle, triangle, triangle. He deflects the last one, does his flurry attack or raining strikes. We hold triangle, we deflect that, hold triangle for crooked foot, money every time. He doesn't do his wall kick very much, and when he does, it's very easy to see, and you just avoid it at the right time. Follow up with square, triangle, triangle, triangle. He'll deflect. Raining strikes, you deflect, and then crooked foot. He also has this charge strike, which you can see here. And when you see that, just stay away. That's it. Just stay away. All right, I'm going to wrap this section up by going over Yang's counters. So the one we love, again, is his raining strikes, which we're going to counter the last one, and we're going to move into our secret sauce. So again, here's our attack. He brings the raining strikes. We deflect it, and then we hold down triangle for the unlock skill, crooked foot, and we got him. Another counter he has is a low high, which is like phase 1. And that's okay because we're going to be planning on deflecting anyway, or parrying, or just pressing L1 when he is about to go into a counter. So whether it's raining strikes or the low high, we're just kind of pressing L1 when a counter's coming and we'll be just fine. He has this extended one too, where he follows up with raining strikes. So either way, if we're just pressing L1 pretty consistently on any of his counters, we're going to get a deflection and then we can punish. Wow, we made it to phase 3, and that's really good news because phase 3 is not as hard as the other 2 phases, but it's really important to know how to beat it or else you'll get stuck here forever. So with that in mind, you can't die in phase 3, so that's important to know. Hopefully that offers you a little bit of relief because you got here. And you're only going to get to phase 3 if you spared Yang, so keep that in mind. To beat phase 3 and do so efficiently, you're just going to be holding L1 and blocking strikes. Don't worry about parrying or avoiding. You're just holding L1 and blocking until his raining strikes come. When his raining strikes come, you deflect the last move of that combo, hold triangle for the unlock skill crooked foot, and then you do some ground and pound or a sweep to punish him. So let's see what that looks like in slow-mo. So for this, I'm just holding L1. I'm blocking all of this till those raining strikes. When the raining strikes come, I say, okay, I'm going to parry or perfect parry or deflect that last move. So here comes the raining strikes, perfect parry, tap, hold triangle for the crooked foot, and then sweep or hold circle to ground and pound, and that'll work. So if you do that, his attacks are very repetitive. You'll be just fine. Beast of a video. I hope you stuck through it. That's all of Yang's phase 1, 2, and 3 moves from my how to beat and spare Yang guide. I hope it was helpful. Again, it's called at Midnite Lights. Midnite spelled a little bit differently, Twitter and Instagram. Once I start making money off any of my YouTube videos, half of what I make will go to charities that we choose. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Peace.